Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I'm really excited to talk about what we got coming up today, and that's the mystery of what's known as the third eye. Maybe you've heard of it before. It's a chakra, but it's also something that exists that can give you insight and much more. She knows way more than I do. She's a clairvoyant. She's a medium. She's a psychic. Donna Edwards, Spiritualist, is back on the program with us. Hi, Donna. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Glad to be here today.
Good
And
to have you
excited
back here.
about talking about that third eye. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's. How would you describe it? I want to describe it, but I want to do it justice. How would you say it?
Well, everyone has one. So let's just let everybody know. Everybody's got a third eye. It's a matter whether it's closed or it's open. And the thing is that we want to get that third eye open and we want to keep it open. So I would say usually it's just a matter of, it's hard to describe, but once that third eye is open, this is where you make your connections to get your answers, and maybe you'll feel better, or if you're helping someone, make suggestions to them. But it's something that everybody needs to try to work on because it helps them throughout their life, whether it's financially, relationships. It covers the whole gamut.
Oh, that's why I'm thrilled that we're talking about it today, because it's your guidance, it's your GPS, it's all of it. But how do you tap into the power of the third eye? How do you harness the wisdom that comes from it?
It's work. Let me say that. It's work. WORK. And it's
Okay.
not easy and simple. So a person has to really want to have this happen for them. It's not something that they can suggest and concentrate on. It's something they have to physically do work on. So that means that whatever religious contacts they have, they're going to have to use that. For myself, it takes a lot of prayer. And even though mine is open, I continue to put up a lot of prayers. I do a lot of prayers, and meaning my prayers are continuous. It's not that you have to do a formal prayer, because throughout the day I pray. Even when I'm talking to you, I could be in my mind thinking of something spiritually that I need to do. So it's constant. If you show that you have that interest and it's sincere, because the discerning of the spirits will know if you're not. They won't open that third eye. They may open it just a little bit to get you kind of like, oh, I feel something different, or I thought I saw something, or it redirected me for something. And they'll do that because that's a test. And that's just to see if you're really interested in it. So it takes a lot of work. But I would say the first place you'd have to start with is whatever you can connect with. And everybody has an individual connection. Then that's where you need to start. So it just depends on what a person's connected. For me, it's the prayer.
Okay, so you're saying that whatever you use to connect to yourself or source, you have to use that. So for you, maybe it's prayer. For me, maybe it's breathing work or meditation. It's
Right.
whatever you use to get centered.
Yes, because I don't believe in changing anybody's mantra. I believe that you take what you have, you add to it, and then you increase it.
Okay. So
So
let's look at you. Let's focus on
mhm.
you. You want to get
Okay.
in touch with your third eye. You're looking for some intuition. Maybe you're trying to answer something that's on your mind. How do you get there? How do you connect?
Well, my connection, and I have to start as a child, has always been through prayer. And at that point in time, it was the formal prayers that, you're taught when you go to either a Bible class or religious class or something like that. So I started with that. But then as time went on, I kind of switched off from that, and my prayers didn't have to be as formal. I found out even just a whisper of a thought of needing help, or saying to spirit, I need help at this point. That's a prayer, because it's a plea, it's an action that takes place with that. So what I
Hmm.
would do is just concentrate and say, well, I need to know about this. I'll pose a question to the spirit, and then I'll just wait. But it depends on what you're trying to do spiritually. Some people want to be able to see, but everybody doesn't have sight. Everybody doesn't have the gift of sight. Some people may be able to hear something, and that might be their gift. Some people can't hear and they don't
Hmm.
have sight. So it may be a feel that may come across. They may feel something, or they may smell something. So it just depends on how the upper powers want to work with that individual. So everybody's got something different. So everybody's not going to be the same. Everybody's not going to have all of the gifts. They may just have one. But the thing is that the one that you find out that you're drawn more to, that's the one you need to try to work with and increase at that point in time.
How do you know what's right for you in terms of being able to see, sense, hear? We all interpret things differently. And what I'm getting from you, Donna, is your third eye presents itself in different ways.
Yes.
Okay. Does it do it fairly reliably in one way? So, for example, maybe you'll hear the answer. Some of us maybe will see the answer if we close our eyes. Or does it always vary in terms of how an answer is revealed or intuition is revealed to you?
Well, for me, and I'm going to speak just for myself at this point. For me, I don't always see things for myself. Spirit doesn't, because Spirit talks to me constantly. So I'm always listening because this is how they do things with me. Even if I go to, now, if I go to sleep, they'll still be talking to me, or I'll travel because I do spiritual travel also. So I may end up someplace else and come back the next day or wake up the next day and say, "Oh, I went and visited so and so." I'll talk to myself about it. I went over here and I saw this. I went inside, that kind of thing. So it just depends. They mainly speak to me when it's for me. Now, if I'm working with someone else, they may speak to me. They may let me see certain things. So they'll go across the gamut with me. I don't have just a one way that they will reveal something to me. But if it's personally for me, it's mainly talking, and they talk all day, nonstop.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you filter that out? How do you deal with that?
I don't try to filter it out. What I do, I pay very close attention because when it's for me, I need to know exactly what they're saying to me and I need to follow the instructions that they're giving me. Because if I don't follow, then that creates a problem with spirit with me. They're very demanding. They're not, I don't want to say critical, but what they'll do is hold me to it. So that means that they won't release me. So it becomes kind of like an irritant. I have to just hurry up and do it because if I don't do it, they won't leave me alone. So I'd rather have them leave me alone in the sense that they don't keep repeating something to me because I can't stand that, than to have them just gnawing at me because they won't let me go. So that's how they work with me.
Are you getting messages in those moments for other people, or are these messages for you sometimes, or a mix of both?
It could be, since I don't filter anything, just like I was stating before, that sometimes they'll give me something. It could be on a politician, it could be president, it could be anything that they may come and they may say to me, so and so, so and so. And I'll say, oh, okay, because I always respond back and say, okay, I got it. And then what I'll do, because I don't remember everything, because I can't, I don't try to hold that information. I'll go and write it down. So it may even be a stranger, somebody I don't know, never talked to, because the information just comes through. So I'm not really even sometimes, but if I write it down, then I'll know exactly if it comes over the news and says this happens to so and so, then I can say, oh, I wrote that down. Let me get my notebook. And then I'll go back and I'll look at it and I'll say, okay, I got that. So it's more of a discipline. And what I want to say to those that's out there and they're trying to get that third eye open, you have to be very disciplined. It's something that you have to do constantly. You can't put it on the shelf and let it get dusty because when you take it back down, you're going to start
Hmm.
all over again.
That's good to know. It's like a muscle. It's like
Yes,
you got to use it or you lose it. Um,
that's it.
can you think of the last time that you got something from spirit? Now it's going to potentially be out of context for the rest of us, but I'm just curious what the message might have been.
Okay, well, I had an incident a couple years back, and it's recently. I had two deaths. One was my daughter, passed first, and then it was my grandson. So what happened during the time with my grandson? The Lord told me definitely that he was ill, and so when they talk to me in a certain language in a certain way, I'll know exactly how critical it is. So it's not like he was sick; he had a headache. It was more that he had a disease, and it was unusual, and so they didn't know how to really treat him. So they treated it as a cancer, but it wasn't a cancer. It was more something that said only six people in the country had. So at that point in time, spirit, but I do believe in healing because I am a healer. And so I put my petition up to St. Jude. It's one of the saints that it's a miracle. He does miracles. So I took the statue of my St. Jude statue, I placed it in his room, and I took before St. Jude. But even though I knew that he was going to pass, the thing was is that I still believe in healing. So during the whole time, it was a vision that the Lord brought me. So when I went to sleep in the vision, I saw all of my, I call them my sons. So in other words, my grandson was there, my two sons were there, my little baby grandson was, they were all lined up for me. So when I looked and I said, okay, Lord, but see, I have to remember that that was a vision. So everybody looked good, everybody looked well, everybody was happy. They were all standing there. But the thing is, I know when it's a vision, it can mean just the opposite. And that's where you have to be able to translate to know that sometimes spirit will bring some, but it can mean just the opposite. So, in the short of this whole thing, when he was in the hospital for that length of time with the doctors and everything, and he was dying, let's say, and this was another death. I watched him die. I was there every day with him. I spoke with him. He knew he was dying. And the whole time was like the Lord kept telling me, we're going to take him. But it wasn't until I left him and I came home and I went to sleep. And I was asleep. And they woke me up. Spirit woke me. It was like 3 o'clock because that's when spirit is really strong between the hours of 3 and 4. He came, my grandson came to my bedroom door and he stood there. And then when I actually saw him stand there, now you got to remember he's in the hospital. I knew right then and there. I said, "Oh no," his name was Ben. I said, "Oh no, Ben, don't tell me." And he stood there. So at that point in time, I was speaking to spirit, but I knew then that they were taking him because he appeared to me. And then the next day came and I got the call that, um, his heart had given out. And then after I left work, I went to the hospital. He had already passed. And so I already knew that he was gone.
Wow. Donna, you say that you get a message from spirit through your third eye, but it could be interpreted differently. And you
Yes.
referred to him that way. How would you potentially be able to see it differently, or I guess, call it incorrectly?
Well, see, this is the thing. And I think the only thing that has gotten me to as far as I've gotten spiritually is that I don't question what I see. I don't question what I hear. Because when you do that, you eliminate all of the spirit part of it because you're not trusting. You're trusting in man at that point. And I don't trust in man because they fail. God does not fail. So the point is for me, I don't question whether I see it right, whether it's wrong, if I hear it right or whether it's wrong, because I get what I get and I stick with what I get.
Hmm.
So I don't question.
You, from the day I met you, I believe that. Like what you get, this is what I got. And I'm not debating it. And even if somebody questions you, you're one of those people who says, no, that's the way it is, and that's it.
That's it.
Let me know when you figure it out. Because yeah, a lot of times things come back to us where it's like, oh, she said that, but I didn't realize that. I didn't think of that at that moment. I call that psychic amnesia when you're talking with somebody who's
Mhm.
clairvoyant and you're just, you got so much going on. You're thinking about so much that you might miss it. Um, so the third eye, is there a way, I guess, with practice to, massage it or get it to be more active? Any thoughts on that? I'm fascinated by it. I think it's pretty amazing once you start tapping into the principles and the using it.
Well, I think a person has to be comfortable with, first of all, a person has to be comfortable with themselves. They have to know themselves. If you don't know yourself first, you're not going to know anything about anybody else. So you have to be sure about yourself. You have to understand yourself. You have to be knowledgeable of yourself. So what I want to say is no need to even talking about a third eye if you don't know yourself because it starts with self. So in order to help someone else, you got to be sure about what you're thinking and saying and that kind of thing because it's not going to come off if you don't know what you're doing. So in other words, the person on the other end, if you're trying to help them, it's not going to come off to be believable anyway because it's not going to relate that way. So you have to be sure of what you're doing. But like I said, if a person likes to put on some soft music, put on some running water, and this is the way they can get that third eye open, then that's what you need to do. You have to do something that you're comfortable working with. Don't go to the extreme, something that like digging up dirt in the backyard, putting it in a jar, because this is what you heard, this is what you needed to do. And that's not what you do, because it won't work for you. You have to do what's comfortable, what you're used to doing, and work that way to get that third eye open. So it's work.
Everything is
But I
work.
wouldn't deviate. Yeah. I wouldn't deviate into something that you're not familiar with, because that can cause a problem.
Is your third eye the same thing as your gut feeling?
I can't honestly answer that question. And because I don't do gut, never have, so I don't even know what that is. I know what you're saying to me uh, with about the gut. It comes from that abdomen area and it comes up. I understand that on that level. But as far as getting something from the gut, no, you're going to have to get it from that third eye.
Well, you know what? Let's look at it this way, Donna. Maybe people call it their gut feeling. And a lot of times there's things that center in your stomach when there's emotion involved and such. But maybe what they're really just referring to is the intuition that came from their third eye. And
Okay,
that's
I agree with you.
right. So maybe that it
Yeah.
is, we're all talking about the same thing.
Hmm.
Um, there's some people, you call it a gut feeling, but some people have, I get a feeling it's like it's weighing heavy here or on my neck or whatever it might be. I just think that, maybe the gut feeling, that term was used because a lot of stuff we internalize emotion, thoughts, and things within our stomach.
And I agree with you, because if you recall, maybe about 5 or 10 minutes ago, I said sometimes spirit will make you have a feel. It can come in different ways. You might see, you might hear, or
Right.
that feeling, just like you said, could be that gut feeling. But you're going to feel something, or you're going to smell something, because a lot of times spirit will bring a scent.
Hmm. Never thought of it that
So,
way.
yeah.
So you really, really got to do the work to tune in to that feeling or the messages that you're getting from spirit, because like you said, I didn't even think it could come in the form of a smell.
Hmm.
Never even crossed my mind.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
So
you could have a loved one that you remember as a child, they had a certain smell with them. It could be maybe they used a certain scent, like petroleum, because that's a strong smell. And that
sure.
you're in a room and the person is not there, and the room fills up with the smell, and you're going to know instantly, oh, that's my Aunt Lucy. And and I would acknowledge that spirit at that point and say, hey, glad to have you here, Aunt Lucy. You have a message for me? I would talk to them at that point, because they're letting you know that they're there. But what I want to say is that, as a child, because I had this gift, mainly most of the time, spirit let me see things because I didn't know exactly. I think that's where they started. But as I matured and when I got into college, I remember that there was nothing to do. And I read a deck of cards, because people would say, but they didn't know I was gifted. I didn't tell them. So they would say, well, we don't have anything to do this weekend. Donna, would you get the deck of cards and read the cards for me? But it was a regular deck of cards. They weren't angel cards. They weren't tarot cards. They were nothing like that. I just had them pull a card, and then I would answer whatever it was on that card. So it just depends on, the person needs to use whatever abilities that they feel comfortable with.
Hmm.
And that's what I want to say.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing the power of our senses, like in terms of smell. I share with you.
Hmm.
Somebody gave me a bottle of aromatherapy spray, and
Yeah.
it's just to balance you, to make you feel calm.
Hmm.
And as soon as I sprayed it, it reminded me of somebody I know who must wear the same type of perfume or one of the fragrances in there. Maybe it's wisteria, maybe it's whatever it might be. Um, and it immediately makes me think of that person, and I feel calm around that person. So
Okay.
the scents are so strong.
Yeah. Now, just what you just said. See, to me, that's what I would say. That's double positive. That's spiritually, is double positive. Someone gave you a gift, and it was the aromatherapy spray.
Yeah.
And then once you used it, it took you immediately to the person. So that's no coincidence. It's that you were gifted something, and that means that smell reminds you of someone. It takes your thought pattern there. So to me, that was awakening for you at that point. So I don't believe in coincidence. I don't believe in accidents.
I
Everything is
agree.
divine. So that's a divine thing for you moment.
I do agree.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
the fact that this, random smell reminds me of somebody else. And I actually went and saw that person on Sunday. I went and just
Good.
stopped by, brought my dog, hung out with their kids. Their kids had never seen my dog, and it just kind of like reconnected us from that. Maybe that was, part of the reason. I don't know. But all of this gets back to the same thing: paying attention,
Yeah.
to what's going on around you.
Mhm.
That spirits may be sending you something, but if you're not plugged into it, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss the message.
Yeah, you do. Because most people, they don't pay attention enough. They're distracted, let's say. Their mind is someplace else, or they're doing someplace else, and they miss it. But spirit comes very quietly. They don't make a big bang, and they don't throw lightning out there, and they come they're very still. So you just have to tune your mind to paying attention. And that's what you just said, paying attention, because you never know when they're going to answer you. You don't know when they're going to enter the room. You just don't know.
Somebody told me one of the most important things you can do if you want to tune into spirit, or even get a message through your third eye, is cleansing breaths. Take those breaths almost like the reset button, and now you're more in tune. Do you need to do that? Did you ever need to do things like that?
No. I mean, I breathe, thank God, because I'm here. But I, but no, no, mm-mm,
Hmm.
I didn't have to do that. I just made sure that, if I'm trying to get to a deeper level, if I want something to happen, then I would go through the cleansing method, and that would basically be for me using a salt bath, cleansing myself with salt, preparing myself before 10 o'clock, waiting on spirit to come forth. And you're going to wait for a couple hours because they're at their highest peak between the hours of 3 and 4. That's when they're the strongest.
Is that for
You know,
everybody?
yes, that would be for everyone.
A three
And
and
then
four. I just want to go back to that. AM
yeah,
or PM?
no, it's AM. So you have to
Hmm.
prepare yourself. And I would say at 10 o'clock, you're prepared. So that means that you've cleansed your body. And I don't just mean with soap and water, but you're going to do a spiritual bath. You're going to make sure that if you're going to lay in your bed, you're going to make sure that it's better to lay on white linen at that
Oh,
point in time.
okay.
You don't want to have 100 pairs of clothes on. You want to be as
Comfortable.
possible,
Yep.
yes. And then what you're going to do is if you meditate or you breathe, like you said, that's what you're going to do. Spirit will start working about 10. You won't see anything, but they know that you're there. So you're going to be there for quite some time. But between the hours of 3 and 4, that's when they're the strongest. You probably won't be released until after 5 a.m. So you may, if you have to get up and go to work or something, just have to know that because you're going to be tired because you don't know if they're going to knock you out. And I mean, knock you out, meaning they're going to put you to sleep. But at that point in time, that's where you're going to get the visions. You're going to get whatever it is that you're seeking at that point in time.
Wow. I never knew between 3 and 4 is a very impactful time.
Yeah, that's the bewitch. I call it the bewitching hour.
Hmm.
That's when all the spirits are busy at that point in time.
Can't wait. Like seriously. Um, and I was up around 3:30 the other night, just randomly.
Well, see, yeah, because you know why? If you pay attention, spirit may wake you up around 3 or 4, and
Right.
you'll say, "I was dead sleep." And I'm wide awake because spirit is communicating with you at that point in time. So it'd be a very good time for you, Steve, when if you get up at that time or just pop up, your eyes pop open at that time, is to really work and ask spirit what is it they want you to know. Do you have a message for me? You got to talk to them. You know.
Final question here. We're just about out of
Okay.
time.
All right.
Could that be a message from somebody? Maybe somebody that's passed over.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
it can be. You don't know what they're going to give you. They
And
may
and
give you some people. Some people
the
think that the visions last 3 and 4 hours, but they don't. Spirit changes them every second.
because I know somebody who someone close to them passed away not too long ago, and they
Hmm.
say that they're always up around that time.
That's the spirit.
Wow.
No
What's your
mistake.
what's your website, Donna?
www spiritualistdonnaedwards.com. My email is spiritualistdonna@gmail.com, or you can definitely call me at 888-424-6980.
Always great talking with you. Learn so much. Always wanted to learn more about the third eye. So thank you for making a lot of that clear today.
Well, thank you, Steve. I had a wonderful time as usual.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.